Communication is huge and will continue to be huge, no matter if you're doing 2 million or 20 million or 50 million. Communication is huge. And if you don't learn how to communicate, it's not going to go well. And it didn't for a while for us. Before we effectively communicated, it was hard. Parenting is hard when you are running your own business. Not belittling your partner because they're still on a roof at 9 p.m. and they're missing another golf round or they're missing another jiu-jitsu match or whatever it is. Knowing that your partner is showing up and doing 100% of what they can for your business, that translates to for your family. And emphasizing that to your kids can be all the difference.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Long Game. I've got a bit of a different show today. In fact, I brought my wife to the studio. Well, it's not really a studio, it's more of a conference room, but we turned it into a studio for this. So thank you for coming, honey.
Of course.
She has been with me from the very beginning. So we're going to talk a little bit about our relationship and about the development over the time at Infinity Exteriors and the company that we built together. I think a lot of contractors work with their spouses, and I don't think we talk enough about it, about what it takes to build a strong business together, to continue to build a strong relationship together, and to be successful over time in both domains, both your family life and in business. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how MJ and I started the business and how our relationship evolved over time. So, honey, can I call you honey?
Yeah, of course.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
So, how far do you want to go back?
Ooh.
What do you think is the most relevant topic to talk about?
Well,
why don't we talk about maybe the fact that you started dating a roofer when I was 18 years old?
Yeah, you were a roofer when I met you. My whole family made fun of me for dating a roofer. I think you just started roofing when I met you.
We have a common friend, a gentleman named Vito Schwartz, who, God rest his soul, passed away last year tragically. But he introduced me to you at a local, what was that? A little fair, right?
Yeah, Fun Fest. Mm-hmm.
Little Fun Fest down in Bayview, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Got me into roofing. You were still in high school at the time. But what did you think about dating a roofer?
Well, I knew Vito was in roofing, and it just seemed like a summer job, and it usually paid cash and was more than making minimum wage at a restaurant. So, just seemed like a temporary summer gig that made pretty good money. I don't know.
Our friends now say that you were a great investor.
The best.
Early on.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe a seed investor back then.
Yeah.
What is it that maybe you saw in me or, the path?
Well, in the beginning, I definitely didn't think roofing was what you were going to do. I mean, obviously, you tried college for a couple months.
That was after I started roofing.
You're going to be an engineer. But what I learned shortly after meeting you was being a roofer for summer was not going to be it. And I didn't know it was going to continue to be roofing, but I knew the way that you operate is very fast. And I knew that you'd be successful in whatever you do. So, yeah, we joke now that I was a good investor. Obviously, now that's panned out pretty well. But I do remember paying the rent a couple times.
You paid the rent most of the time.
As a waitress. So,
I had delusions of grandeur of being some competitive powerlifter and making a living doing that, which never came to fruition.
No, it didn't.
But so I was 19 years old. I go off to the Marine Corps. We're still roofing. Yeah. You're still working. Go to the Marine Corps, come back, and started working on the house.
Yes.
And when did you come into the business?
Well, I at the time when you were roofing and decided to start your own business or have your own business at all, we were living on the south side of Milwaukee on Quincy in a little side by side, and we bought it from our landlady. And then we had our spare bedroom was the office.
That's right.
And then I was working at a restaurant. And then I got pregnant in 2005. So 2005, I think, was the year that I think me being pregnant lit a fire under your butt to really make it a business instead of I'm going to spend most of the day at the gym and then maybe do a repair to make rent.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that was definitely when it changed.
I've been disciplined my whole life. In the very beginning, during those years you're talking about, I was disciplined to going to the gym and disciplined to going to the pool hall to get better at billiards, racquetball, all those things. And then I would do repairs to make money. But actually in 2005, I had a pretty good gig at the time. We were, had built a crew for subcontracting. I'd started subcontracting from one of the largest companies kind of in Wisconsin. So used to get job packets from them, and I had my crew would go to work every day. So what was that like?
Yeah. Well, through most of that subcontracting phase, I was still working full time. I actually took a job managing that restaurant, Prime Quarter, because you were a roofer and you didn't have health insurance, and I wanted to have a baby. So I got a job as a manager so I could get benefits. And then
we got unlimited free steaks.
Yes,
not quite free,
it was a steakhouse. Yes, you got to come in for steaks. But I remember driving to pick up the work packets for the next day from Mickey. From Mickey in the office, yeah. And then that was great. Never had to worry about lining up a job the next day. They were a big company, so we had work every day. Yeah, didn't have to really worry about anything. And that was really the plan. And when I got pregnant, you were going to continue working there. It was good money. And then I was going to stay home with the babies. That was my plan.
I remember it was me and a couple of powerlifting buddies that I was training with and a couple of helpers. We had a 5-man crew. Yeah, I'd go pick up my job packet in the morning. I'd go do the roof. I'd turn it in. I'd get paid. We were making good money. And I think that was going to be it for us. So we're pretty excited about that future. And then I called you.
Yeah.
After a difficult day for me. And I asked you how much money we have in the bank.
Yeah. No, I answered the phone. And I think I was on my way to work. About 7 months pregnant. I was on my way to the restaurant. So it must have been in the afternoon. And you said, honey, I quit my job. I said, well, okay. And you said, how much money do we have in the bank? And knowing you for the 5 years that I'd known you, I knew something. Yeah, I knew something had to have been horribly wrong for you to quit your job that we had planned to be our main source of income within the next 2 months. I was going to have a baby and no longer work. So it was, you asked me how much money we had in the bank and that you quit your job. And I was scared. I was like, shit, I'm going to have to work at this restaurant after, and I'm not going to be able to stay at home with the baby. It was scary. Yeah, it was scary.
So I remember that day vividly. And for those who know the Betty story, I'm sorry, I got to tell the folks who don't. We were doing really well subcontracting. And then, as you know, I went and I was dispatched to do a roof for a old lady named Betty. She was in her early 80s, very sweet lady. At the end of the day, I found out that the contractor that I was working for had charged her an obscene amount of money for this roof. It was $12,000 for a project that had $600 in costs. And I was so distraught, angry, furious. I was going to go beat the shit out of that guy. I was so mad. And I went back and had some choice words with him and told him that I quit and that I would never work for him again. And that my sole mission in life would be to put him and companies like his out of business. That's when I called you. That's when we coined our vision statement, which is on the wall, to rid the world of unscrupulous contractors. And that was really kind of the shot in the arm. To your point, you were pregnant and I didn't want to see people get taken advantage of. I said, man, if these people can be successful, ruining people's lives, in my opinion, we could do a much better job than they could. And so, yeah, how much money we have in the bank. And then we we put it all into a Yellow Page ad.
Yeah. Yellow Page ad. That was, our main source of leads before we started subcontracting from that business. And we had our classified ad in the back of the newspaper, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel,
Yep.
and then and the Yellow Pages. But the Yellow Pages was a big deal. It only got printed once a year. So you had to make the decision in the beginning of the year how much money we were going to put into it. And yeah, you asked how much we had, and it was almost exactly what we needed to do a full page. And we put it all into the Yellow Page ad. Yeah, we did. And I think I drew it. The logo was like two little stick figures and a roof.
It was. Actually, I remember what it said. It said, we had no idea about content messaging and marketing at the time, but we looked at the full page ads and there'd be warranted, quality, guaranteed, all these things on it. And it was just a lot of letters. And I said, you know what? Let's just do worried about unreliable contractors. Infinity takes no money down until you're satisfied.
Yeah.
And you drew the two stick figures, a little house, and nothing else but our number. And man, that phone lit up.
Yeah. It was incredibly effective. Yeah. And we were still living in Quincy. It was 800 square feet. And you immediately that summer, it was like spring when that happened because I was about 6 or 7 months pregnant and I didn't have Tyson until September. So the phone started ringing off the hook. And that was when Infinity was born.
Actually, remember the first phone call because you were so afraid to answer the phone?
No, that was after I had Tyson because it was my first time that I was going to be in the house all day and you were going to be gone at work. Because I just had a baby and I was going to be a stay-at-home mom and our office was the extra bedroom. And you said, okay, honey, when the phone rings, pick it up. And I said, I don't know anything about roofing. What the heck am I supposed to say?
That's because the phone was originally, I had an old Nextel flip phone for those who are old enough to remember those Nextel phones. You beep, 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 you get to talk to people.
Walkie-talkie.
Walkie-talkie, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I used to have a walkie-talkie directly to ABC Supply, which was really cool.
I got that. Don't brag about that. I did that.
Okay, you did it.
Yes.
Fair enough. We had it. But anyhow, my Nextel phone, it would go right to my line and I'd be working on the roof. I'd be installing. I'd be shingling. It'd be hot. Phone rings. And I thought it was unprofessional at the time to have to pick up the phone and take a lead while I'm working physically on the roof, trying to get stuff done. And so I transferred the line to the house. I still remember the phone rang because you freaked out.
Yeah,
you went ghost like, what am I going to say?
What if they ask me about the shingle?
Yeah.
I was very scared. But then once I realized it's just customer service and taking a number and finding a time that worked well for you to go out there, it ended up being much better. But to that point, that was when I really realized how much room for improvement we had in our bookkeeping processes and customer tracking information. I think you threw a spiral notebook at me and was like, this is where I keep track of the customers.
Listen, we all start somewhere.
Yes.
I started from the bottom. In fact, this morning, I was in my CFO's office of our company today, which is sizable. And I was giving him my balance sheet from 2001, which had, I think, 18 tools. And the most expensive one was my $475 fax machine. I asked him if he would have, depreciated that over like 6 years. But it was pretty funny. I still have that notebook, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we start answering the phone. Business starts kicking off. And what do you think made us successful early on? Because there's a lot of contractors in Milwaukee.
Well, I think the one thing that you really recognized once we got away from subcontracting and customers were actually calling us directly was no roofing companies actually showed up for the appointment to give the estimate or showed up on time to do the job or answered their phone not on the roof or not in a work truck. So being able to differentiate ourselves, even in those little areas where they call our office, which was our house, and I answer the phone without nail guns popping off in the background, and I could actually schedule a time for you to come out and meet. And then you actually showed up at that time. That was unusual.
I forgot about that until you just said that.
Yeah.
Those were the golden years of roofing.
It was.
I would show up to an appointment. They would have called 5 people and I'd be the only person to show up.
Yeah. Remember?
That's how abundant the leads were.
Yeah.
Out of freaking Journal Sentinel newspaper on a $200 a week ad.
Yeah, the classified.
Yeah, we'd get 10, 15 leads and I'd be the only one to show up half the time.
Right. So in the beginning, it just really was a matter of giving them an estimate and then following through and doing what you said you would do on the estimate.
Mm-hmm.
And then shaking their hand at the end and collecting a check. It really, that was abnormal for the roofing industry.
Mm-hmm.
Half of the customers you went to gave a down payment to someone who ran away. It felt like so.
Yeah,
most of that, it was the Wild West. I mean, the roofing industry was the Wild West. If you could not even afford a truck, if you could borrow a truck and borrow your uncle's ladder, you could call yourself a roofer and collect down payment from people and have no idea what you're doing. And that was everywhere. That was rampant. Yeah.
Yeah. And also what we saw, what you still see today, is you saw companies that were your competitors do terrible workmanship, go out of business, but then you'd see them selling again in the house because they were using their girlfriend's name or their sister's name to start a new company. So yeah, that happened a lot. But so we spent a lot of time early on. I would say, I was actually had the opportunity to be at Best of Success last week, and I was talking about how to build a high performance company using the stoic virtues.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I heard early on in maybe not quite early on, but maybe the last decade, was stop work at these consultants, or stop working in your business and start working on your business. And I think about that, I think, man, that is just awful advice.
Yeah.
You and I, well, we can talk through what our team looked like at the time, but we've talked to companies that are $5 million, $10 million in revenue, that have full like C-suites, middle managers in these organizations. What did our company look like at 2008 at $5 million in revenue?
You're looking at it. I mean, it was you and I. I think you maybe had one sale. Did you have Aaron yet?
Aaron was 2009. So
2009. No, yeah. So you didn't have a sales guy. It was just you and I.
Just you and I.
And I did everything off of the roof and you did everything on the roof and in sales. So you sold the job and worried about producing the job, and I did everything else. So I set up. You were the one who dreamed it. You put it, you got the sale from the customer and you actually did the work. But I just did everything in the background to make you be able to sell the job and do the work. So set up the deliveries, spoke to the customers about where they want their dumpster.
Yeah, EOS talks about a visionary and an implementer.
Yes, you were the visionary. I was the implementer forever. And I think in most areas of our life, that's true. So we just took that model that we had in our relationship, and I think we just mirrored it into our business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to say that's easy, but relationships aren't easy either. So you struggle with a lot of the same things that you do in a relationship. You just struggle with it in different areas because you're working together. So
one of the things that we struggled with over the years was communication.
Yes.
Communicating.
Yeah.
When you used to annoy the shit out of me and call me all day long.
You. Yes. Yeah, we went through
when I was on the roof and you would call me all the time. This is before text messaging.
No.
Where you had to do like the 3-digit.
Yes. This was when texting was a thing. Nobody used it, but we made a rule that we could only text each other during the day because if we spoke to each other, we would definitely get in a fight.
Yeah.
But we both were.
Why was that, do you think? Do you think you were being irrational?
You are a horrible listener. I'm just kidding. I think because of what you just said, I think because we were both doing the job of 10 people and we had no time to communicate that to the other one because that didn't help what I needed to get done in that 10 hours of the day, and it didn't help what you needed to get done in that 10 hours a day. And what we were doing was so completely different from each other, but we needed to communicate somehow to be able to do the jobs. But I think it was just an impossible task given the amount of work we were both taking on.
I think we're fortunate too. We're both incredibly hard workers. I would be out in the field selling. I would be doing repairs. I do whatever's necessary to build the business, build the team. And you are so organized. And so behind the scenes, I think what allowed us to go from kind of a small, doing it out of our house to, our first shop and our next shop and continued growth of the organization is really talk about data clarity. I talk about accountability in the organization, and everybody talks about culture.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's helpful for, in your mind, well, how is our culture? How is Bleeding Blue at Infinity different than other organizations?
Well, I think it started with the fact that it was just you and I. And so when we would bring people in to be an employee, you're coming into our family. This is my kids are playing on the floor next to my desk. I have a 3-day-old baby in the car seat under my desk. Like, that is, you're not just coming into a business that has some owner that's somewhere far off. You're coming into how I feed my kids. My kids are here. You're coming into my family. And I think that through our growth, we tried to keep that closeness with our employees. I think we showed our employees everything. We've always been very transparent with how we sell jobs, what we pay for things, what everyone makes. Nothing was a secret. There was never a hierarchy of who knows what. We ran that way for a very long time, but I think that builds trust in employees. And we'd have summer picnics and we'd invite everyone to our home. I knew the names of everyone's kids. You tried to know the names of everyone's kids. You barely know the names of our kids. I'm just kidding.
Very true.
But what I'm saying is, I think there wasn't a difference between our friends and our employees. Our friends were our employees, and vice versa. And I think we just maintained that as we grew, and we tried to maintain it as well as we could as we grew. And we cared about people as people. We didn't look at them any different.
So I guess radical transparency was how we acted, which was important to us. And all the business books that I read, it was always, you need to have this hierarchy of stored information and make sure that certain sets of people only know certain things. And I just had this different view on the world. I think a lot of that view was born out of Jack Stack's A Great Game of Business. I read that book really early on, and and that's a great thing. I have to say that every book that I read that I enjoyed, I gave to you and you would read. And so we'd be on the same leadership kind of journey and philosophy. So you knew where I was coming from when we were reading, and vice versa. So I think that from the cultural standpoint, it was leading by example was a big thing.
Yeah.
I was in the office every morning at 5, kind of the latest. And when I hired my first sales guy, Aaron was a stud. He still works for me today. Love him. He's running our Stevens Point division for Infinity Exteriors out of Milwaukee, and he's doing a great job. Aaron came to me from the radio. He was a radio sales rep. And big corporate company. He was going to go work his way up the chain of command, and then I offered him a job right before Christmas. Yeah. And Aaron was, Aaron's a very hard worker, but in the radio, you worked from 9 to 5. It was kind of part of it, And he saw me coming in early, and I would kind of nudge him, like, hey, what time are you getting in tomorrow?
Yeah.
Before I knew it, Aaron was showing up at 4:45 in the morning. He was getting there before I was, and we had this kind of thing. So I think this discipline and this really super strong work ethic, balanced with integrity, and then this kind of radical transparency, I think is what helped us, like you mentioned, build that trust. Over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So we started bringing people in. Business started growing. 10, 11, 12. We're doing maybe 10 million, 15, 12, something like that, 10, 15 million in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
What did, I guess maybe, how do we think about hiring people and when we needed people, especially in the office? When did you think about that? Because I think about, we ran such a lean organization.
Yeah.
But we still had a really, real great culture. So what did it take to do that, maybe?
I think it made a big difference that I was there and I had done every role that I was looking to fill. So once we got to a point where I could no longer do all of the roles, I would have to hire someone and delegate something out. And little by little, I would have to delegate more things because each role grew bigger and bigger. But I think just me having been in each role was a huge point of respect for the employee coming in because they knew I understood what part of their job was hard because they knew I did it. And I think that helped us bond immediately because they knew. And they also, I think a big thing about our culture that maybe came from the great game of business too was the people who are doing that job know best what is efficient and what is inefficient in that job. So taking feedback from each position and actually changing a role or changing a process because the person in that job says, yes, this worked when we were this big, but it's no longer working now and we're creating a bottleneck or whatever the instant was. I think that you and I were good at seeing that and changing it immediately to make that person happier and their job easier or flow better. We weren't stuck in our ways for anything. And you especially, I mean, you pushed me. I was, I hated change. I mean, I've always been that way. It's just my personality because I'm organized and nothing's broken. Please don't rock the boat. Let's just go slow. Mm-hmm. But obviously you're not that way. So you drug me I think with my heels dug in for sure.
Yeah, I think if you're not changing, you're not growing, you're not evolving. I do think a big part of our success was in allowing autonomy, allowing decision-making closest to the information. I say that today in the company that I run, IHS. It's you have to push decision-making down closest to the information. It's a very important aspect of getting the right feedback. But also, like you mentioned, because you did every job, because I did every job, I knew what it took to do that job successfully. Yeah. And so you were able to put the parameters around accountability. Because when someone says, hey, I can't process 12 invoices an hour, I did the job and I processed 50 an hour. So what are we doing wrong here?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was huge. And they also, like I said, with just the respect that an employee knowing that you did that job, I think just lights a little bit more of a fire under them to do it well because they know they can't BS you because you've done that job. So that was big. Recognizing when you need to bring more people in is always difficult because, of course, you want to have more help and you don't want to stress people out. But, man, coming from wearing 20 different hats and doing so many different jobs, it's hard. It's hard to hire. It's hard to hire people when you know you can do it with the team you have without burning people out. Because not everybody has that work ethic. Not everybody, and you want to find people who do, but you also have to be really careful to not burn out good people.
Right.
So I think that was definitely and continues to be a hard thing to recognize. Really,
one of the I think pivotal parts of the data clarity in our business and understanding the numbers was when we went on Zoho, our CRM.
Yeah,
I partnered with another firm called RoofRide America early on in their build up, and Adam Brisman had Zoho, and I looked at it, I said, wow, this is pretty cool. We were, at the time, Google Docs, and we weren't really super organized, and we brought that in, and you became a Zoho Nazi. That's a bad word to say, but
yes,
you were.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even open a customer file unless you said,
yeah. Did you put it in Zoho?
Did you put it in Zoho? Became your mantra.
I was actually going to get a tattoo that said, did you put it in Zoho? Like that, I don't care about anything you're telling me unless you put it in Zoho. Then we can talk about it, as long as it's in there first. That was any point of contact or anything to do with a job had to be in the notes. Because down the road in 2 months when that job gets done and the customer has one story and you have another, if you don't have it noted, I have no case. Zero. I have nothing to rebut. I'm not going to play the he said, she said unless something is documented. And I think that really helped us in keeping our reputation over the years because we had documentation. When someone tried to take you to the cleaners and you knew it was not true, being able to say...
Not all customers are honest.
No, they're not. But also...
I love them, but they're not all honest.
They're not all honest. But having a strict policy in documentation can save your reputation because you can show someone 8 p.m., when Aaron got off the phone with you, he made this note and he said, this is what happened in the conversation. And then the next day when I spoke with you, I have a note here that it says, we talked about this. And when you go through and you list those things, it can disarm someone who could have taken you to the cleaners, who could have ruined your reputation. But it also helps you to nip in the bud employees that are not maybe practicing what you preach as a company and what you preach as a culture. And having that documentation helps you to see that a lot quicker.
Yeah. One thing I talked about as we grew the business over time was in the beginning, there were not a lot of meetings. We had no meetings.
Yeah, no.
We talk at home,
Yeah.
what happened through the day. Your core group of your foundational employees who love you to death and will do anything for you. They're, those are your core employees. As your business grows and scales, you start getting outside of that core employees. And you have these cultural folks inside who will do anything for you. They'll live and die for you. And then it goes a little further out. These kind of concentric circles start expanding as your company gets bigger. And it's there is really the special sauce between being able to run a small business successfully and being able to scale your organization effectively and still deliver that exceptional customer experience. And I think it was that Zoho clarity. We'd identify as we were scaling problems in our process. Really, it's not even the technology per se, not even Zoho per se, but it was the process in which we did things. We would identify those, we would solve for those using a system or a new process, and then we'd create dashboards, or we'd create accountability metrics where the people who were managing those folks could actually see what was happening on a daily basis. And I think that was a big part of us going from, call it 15 million to 40 million.
Right. And just to bring back in the great game of business, I think one of the biggest positives that we had for scaling was really emphasizing that everyone knew what their part did in the big picture. Like how your job done well and effectively, how that affects the business, and showing them in metrics. And we use Zoho, but you can use any way to document it, but be able to have performance-based incentives for each person. Even if it's somebody who's answering the phones and taking leads, make a metric that will be based on performance. And I think that was key. That took us from the small office of 5 to, eventually 200.
Let's transition here. So we build this local business in Milwaukee. We start expanding geographically. We took Jake Krieger, who's one of our great dear family friends.
Yeah.
And he was a sales rep for us at the time, wanted to open a new location and expand Infinity. We didn't know we could make this thing work outside of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Goes up there, launches a location. Jake's been wildly successful and a total complete asset. Not an ass, a complete asset.
I actually thought you were going
to the company.
I was confused.
And he's a great hunting partner of mine as well. But we start getting phone calls, emails, text messages about private equity. Yeah. And there's this before 2000 and maybe 20. It was just, you couldn't sell your business. Roofing businesses were not saleable in general.
Right.
But we started getting these calls. Like, what did you think when we started getting those calls? And I started kind of talking to you about that.
Not a chance in hell. Not a chance. Mm-hmm. Would I even consider it? I didn't consider it. Mm-hmm. I would delete 10 messages a day. And I know you were doing the same. Because I didn't know anything about it first. I didn't really care to know. We were doing well. We were scaling. We were seeing that we could scale. But the only thing I knew about private equity was bad. The bad side. All they want to do is come in, fire all your people, make your product shittier or your service crappier, and make more money on the bottom line and sell it.
Yeah, don't forget about raise prices.
Yeah. Raise prices. Fire all your people, raise your prices. And pretty much undo everything.
In PE, we call it optimize.
What? Yeah, whatever.
I'm kidding.
But we essentially undo everything that we just work so hard to build to be different than other companies who were just trying to line their pockets, who were just trying to get that next car or next house or whatever it was. It was never about money for us. And money just came when things went well because we were running a good business. We were doing what we were saying we were going to do. And we were treating our customers fair and our employees fair. That's when we became successful. And I wasn't interested in wrecking that.
Yeah, we said subjecting our people, our culture, our processes, our systems to financial engineers. And so we know today that not all private equity is like that. Just like some industries get a bad rep, roofing gets a very bad rap.
Yes.
I would say by and large, roofing probably has a worse, I don't know, if there's some sort of index rating industries. I'm sure it's not high. Maybe it's gotten better over the years, but it was definitely not good years ago. So I come to you and tell you one day, I'm really considering this. And what goes through your mind?
Well, I don't think that you just said I'm considering this. I think it was someone in the industry, Paul.
Overhead Solutions.
Paul from Overhead called you, which we've known Paul and Tara from Overhead just through the industry and through vendors or vendor events. But we knew they were in Green Bay. We knew they were good people and we knew they ran a good outfit. And Paul called you and said, I think you should talk to these guys. They're small. They're not crazy. They're not suits. I think that it could be a way for you to expand using some outside capital. They sound different. And I said, fine, take the call, but I'm still not a fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not a fan. I still think they're going to sell you a, ketchup popsicle and you're wearing a wet red dress. Like they're just going to be these schmoozy D-bags.
Yeah.
With suits on. That's exactly, I think, what I said.
We did see some who they got those short dress pants with no socks and those loafers. They look pretty cool though.
No, they don't.
Okay.
No. My brother Tommy, who's still running the show at Infinity Exteriors, but Tommy and I ran the office. Jake was going to start start the new location. We were a fine-tuned machine, and bringing outside people into our industry, especially corporate people, into a roofing company to tell me how to do my job better did not sound fun. I was not interested in that.
So we meet TJ and team from North Branch Capital. Shout out to TJ. Love that guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's a great, great human being. Meet TJ and the team and say, we think about it seriously. They make us an offer, and the offer isn't, just about the money. It's about what we can do as far as up-leveling the professionalism and trustworthiness of this industry by partnering with like-minded business owners. Paul and Tara from Overhead Solutions being the first, and then I think shortly thereafter we had Ryan Balcom at Premier Roofing, right there in the tails. And so it came down to, you and I, we've been together for 28 years now. So it's been a long time. I think we were talking one night and I said, I don't think I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And you were
I remember it. Yeah, I did. So this was after we met them a couple times, TJ and the guys at North Branch, they're great. But they weren't slime balls, and they were good guys, and they were interested in the way we built it and the way we were running our company. And they didn't seem like they had any interest in changing our culture or how we do business. It was essentially, we want to do what you're doing more and find the companies who want to do what you're doing, but help them to do it. And I think that you came to me, or I think it was just an evening after work.
No, I remember vividly, we were laying down in bed and it was about, you talk, the little pillow talk at night.
Yeah.
And I said, I just don't think I'm going to do it. The uncertainty is too much. And I think you said something like, Josh, if this is not about money, we both agree. But if our mission is to rid the world of unscrupulous contractors, can you do that faster or better with the support of North Branch and all the partnerships they could bring? Or can you do it on your own?
I do remember that, yeah.
And when you laid it out like that, it was pretty straightforward. It was, having Paul and Tara, having, Ryan Balcom, having all the folks we have right now, 25 companies across our platform. Infinity Exteriors, the company that you and I started and built, is today 50 or 60% bigger than when we stopped running it. And that is a testament to the quality of the partnerships that we have, the support across our network, and for you, the systems that we built. Because Jim Collins talks about the flywheel. It's like every day you come in, you work hard, you solve a problem, you figure out a system. It's a push on the flywheel, just a push. And I get a lot of people ask me now, like, Josh, you're this big CEO now. You run this big company. Like, how did you do it? What was the magic button? What was it? There's no button. Sorry, I'd love to tell you there was a button, but you know what it was? It was getting in the office early every morning. It was staying disciplined. It was being transparent with my staff. It was solving problems every day, just small problems, pushing that flywheel. And when you and I left, and we'll talk a little bit about that flywheel was spinning so fast that, Saglin and team, your brother Tommy and Jake and Sam picked that up and just kept pushing. And that company's gone from 40 to close to 70 million. And I'm so proud of those guys. But, so back to when we make the partnership with IHS, brought in a CFO, and my dream was, because we have little kids, we have a second generation of children.
Yeah.
We ended up having 2 more kids.
Yeah.
10-year gap.
Yeah.
Was to have you at home with the kids. How did that, how did you feel about that?
Well, that was my plan when I was 18. When we decided to get married, that was my goal, is to be a stay-at-home mom and spend time with the kids. And with the first 3 kids, we made it work. The kids came to the office with me every day. I figured out how I could be with them, do after school stuff, and still do what I needed to do at work. So we figured it out. But it really was weird to be faced with the option that I maybe could actually stay home. And then it got deeper. Then it was like, oh my God, do I actually want to stay home? I don't know if I can imagine myself not going to work and being a part of this business, because this business is also my baby, so that's definitely, something else too. That's a whole nother subject, but yeah.
It was hard because when I would go back after you kind of left, that was tough for you. We talk about mental well-being. That was tough for you because you helped me build this business and you were with it every step of the day. You knew everything about everything that was going on because you were so detail oriented. And then I would come home and maybe I wouldn't tell you some things that were going on. You'd find out later and you'd get kind of frustrated with me.
Oh yeah, I'd be fucking pissed. I was not happy. But we figured it out. It's a new season. But with the first transaction, I stayed through diligence and, before, hiring the CFO. And so I was there for that whole transition. So it was really through the next transition that I stepped away.
Yeah.
So I was in it for a little bit, with I was in it with North Branch, when we had our first experience with PE. So that was.
How long did it take you, do you think, to kind of mentally detach from the business and start feeling kind of good about where you're at?
I'm not. I'm just kidding. It did take me a while. I had to. Our culture didn't change, even though we'd gotten bigger and we have more employees. The culture was still. My brother and I are the face of the office, and so stepping away from that was hard. Was really hard. I had to archive some chats so that way I wasn't involved in all of the company chats anymore, just for my mental well-being. I had to really start trying to separate myself. And I'd bring the kids in for a visit and I'd bring donuts to the office or whatever it was. But I think just understanding that I don't have to be there. I don't have to be the one who's doing this. Like, Tommy is fully capable of taking that customer that would have elevated through Tommy and then to me. He's now capable of handling that problem or handling that employee. That it's difficult. It's like when you have a kid going off to college, you hope you did everything right for them to be a functioning adult and they're going to be successful, but you don't know. They could go out and just be at the bar all the time. I don't know.
Totally degenerate.
Yeah, complete degenerate. But they've done great, and it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see. I mean, we were just at the roofing contractor award, and
Best of success.
Yeah, the best of success, and they won, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when we broke the top 100,
mm-hmm.
and that was like a big day
Yeah.
for us. I mean, I think it was just the two of us, but it was a big day. But it's great. It's great. It's great. It's great to see, and it's great. I mean, obviously, you are the face of the company, so I get what updates I need, and obviously, my brother is still a communication line for me. And I mean, there was a big, long time where Tommy would communicate with me daily on, different situations. But
can we shift gears just quick?
Yeah.
I'd like to talk maybe or bring the element of, we talk about a lot about business, but kind of business to family.
Yeah.
And not a whole parenting thing, but it seemed to me that as you and I became better leaders over the years, from the books that we'd read or this development we had to have by having employees, that we brought some of that kind of to the family life. I remember a book we read together as a family called Leadership and Self-Deception,
mm-hmm.
which we had the kids read.
Yeah.
How much do you think that bled over to the family and maybe?
Huge. I think it played a huge role in the parents that we've become, especially now. I mean, we've got 2 kids out of the house. One is a senior in high school. One's in kindergarten and one's in first grade. But
that's my life.
I think that having the experience of working with so many different people across all pay grades, from installer, cleanup, warehouse guy, every position that we've had, I think it has really broadened our scope on what people deal with and emotional intelligence and how to read people. I mean, stoicism is a huge foundation for our parenting and what we teach our kids, and emotional control, and that they are not their emotions. They're separate from them.
Mm-hmm.
And teaching that from a really young age, I think, has been pivotal in who our kids have become today. I mean, the big ones anyways. The little ones, we're still waiting to see what happens. But
we talk a lot about it in business and in leadership, not allowing emotions to leak into your decision-making. And oftentimes it's hard to separate your emotions from your decision-making. But if you do it as a parent, I think you can net fairly good results. We're fortunate that our first son is obviously at West Point now and playing golf and excelling there for now, hopefully.
Yes.
Sorry, Ty, you're going to keep winning. All right. So what advice maybe for other small potential, contractors, in the early phases of their businesses that are working with their spouses? Is there any specific, we talked a lot about maybe what's made us successful. Is there any specific advice you think you'd give to them? We talked a lot about communication. I don't know.
Yeah. Communication is huge and will continue to be huge, no matter if you're doing 2 million or 20 million or 50 million. Communication is huge. And if you don't learn how to communicate, it's not going to go well. And it didn't for a while for us. Before we effectively communicated, it was hard. Parenting is hard when you are running your own business, and not belittling your partner because they're still on a roof at 9 p.m. and they're missing another golf round or they're missing another jiu-jitsu match or whatever it is. Knowing that your partner is showing up and doing 100% of what they can for your business, that translates to for your family. And emphasizing that to your kids can be all the difference it is. For our old kids, I mean, for Imani, Tyson, and Wyatt, you were gone a lot of the time because you were working. But if you ask them today, was Dad around in your childhood? They say yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because you were physically there. It's because I made them know what you were out doing. And that was working for our family as a family unit and our family as a business. And this is what's necessary to have a good company and have the culture we have and grow the way we wanted to grow. And I think as a wife and as a married couple, having a partner that you know is working just as hard as you are, even if it's not at home or with the kids, they're doing 100% of what they can do to help the whole unit. And having different roles is totally fine. It doesn't have to be each of you are 50% with the kids and each of you are 50% with the business, because that never works. That never is actual. And the sooner you realize that that's not actual and that isn't how it should be or the way it has to be for someone to be happy, the sooner you'll have a happier marriage and the sooner you'll have happy kids who aren't crying about somebody's missing something. Because if your kids really understand that everyone's doing 100% of what they can to make things work, then everybody understands. Then everybody's on the same page. So I think that's really important.
I think that's great advice. I think that's our communication, I think, has evolved. I know has evolved a lot in the 20 years that we've been running the business. The 28 years we've been together. And I think it'll continue to evolve for the next 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about continuous improvement. The first line in our family ethos is, I will undertake this day and every day with a sense of duty to be better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
And all of our kids know it.
Yeah.
And so long as you practice that and you try to just continue to be a better person every day, a better business owner, a better father, a better wife, I think you'll build on that. So, honey, thank you so much for taking time to come to the podcast today.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
No problem.
Christmas party tonight?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I will see you tonight.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.